Field. The rain has been coming down all day here at Heinz Field, Mike, and just about 5:40 is when the tarps came off. The Steelers did go through some individual work as if it is a road game and what they normally do, getting used to that routine last week when we saw Coach Tomlin put them through what a home game is like here at Heinz Field. So tonight they are the road team.
Yeah, and then we heard, I should say, the warm-up music as we did last Saturday and the pregame routines. Chris Boswell banging away on kicks, everybody doing their positional stuff, the group warm-up, everything as it would be and as it will be on September the 14th when the Steelers visit New York to play
the New York Football Giants.
Thank you.
The Steelers offense is wearing white tonight. The defense is wearing black, so they flip-flop from what they did last week. And some members of the Steelers scouting department will serve as the honorary officials tonight because no officials are allowed to visit any of the NFL teams' sites for practice.
Yeah, that should prove interesting. Not that the Steelers scouts would do anything but officiate in an above-board fashion. But let's just say you had a guy that you argued for and you wanted to see him make the team because it would make you look good. Was that in or out of bounds? It's in bounds, first down.
You could throw your weight around a little bit.
Might be a little of that. Yeah, a little influencing, maybe.
All right, so what is really exciting about tonight, Mike, is that practice is expected to be about 60 minutes long, and there will be live tackling, and we are going to be able to show a little bit more than we have been able to this entire Steelers training camp and pretty much more than ever before. So this will be exciting, some of the things that we will be able to show everybody. But just to recap, yesterday Eric Ebron was not here due to illness, and also Anthony McFarland in the concussion protocol. There was a number of guys Coach said was day-to-day. So we'll have to continue to see who is out there, but we did see Eric Ebron when we were watching individual warm-ups.
Yeah, good to see him back. That's a guy that we've been talking about a lot since we started doing these training camp broadcasts, and there's two reasons for that. Well, actually, three reasons for that. He's been talking a lot. He's done a couple of Zooms. A lot of the teammates are talking about him, and he is a guy that is showing up on these practice reports, Missy, a lot. He's a guy that has arrived as advertised in terms of the athletic ability and the things that were associated with Eric Ebron when he played for the Detroit Lions and the Indianapolis Colts. And ever since he got here, a lot of talk about how much two tight ends and what might that do for the offense. Eric Ebron said, hey, if it's up to him, he'll do it all the time, but even he knows you can't do two tight ends all the time. So that's just one of the things they're sorting out here, but definitely good to see him back in the uniform. But wearing the whites tonight. He got a chance to wear the black jersey last week, and he gets to wear the white one this week. So I guess he's up to speed. I don't know if are they doing a practice with the throwbacks or the celebrating the 1929 team or whatever they have planned for
Color
the regular
rush.
season. Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, but we will stay tuned to that. Two other players missing practice yesterday. Ryan Switzer and Kareth White did not practice, so we'll have to keep our eyes out to see if they are back here tonight. Also, Derek Watt was somebody that Coach Tomlin was asked about, Mike, because he was a little bit limited, and Coach did say he's coming off of surgery, and the timeline for Derek Watt to be back to a full participant is week 1. And as we keep saying, that is getting closer and closer as we sit here.
Yeah, that was curious when Mike Tomlin mentioned it, and then Randy Fichtner alluded to it. That was the first anybody had heard of a surgery for Derek Watt, but he has been out here. And this is a guy that's pretty well established, great special teams player, and a guy that special teams coordinator Danny Smith raved about when he did his Zoom during training camp. One of those core special teams guys that you're going to build those kicking game units around. And a guy who, if you look at the stats, he doesn't catch a lot of passes, but he gets a lot of yards with those passes that he catches. So an interesting pickup for sure this offseason.
I do want to let everybody know, I know Mike is extra excited because he is very high on Steelers wide receiver, the rookie Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame, and I had a chance to go one-on-one with him today from my kitchen, but we will be bringing that interview for you guys just a little bit later in the show. We have heard high praises for the rookie from everybody from Coach Tomlin, Randy Fichtner, his quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, even guys like Joe Hayden on the other side of the ball. So Mike, interested to see what we see maybe from him tonight. He is another one of those guys that, as we say, continues to come up on the pool report.
Comes up on the pool report. He comes up in conversation. And the latest that we heard from Randy Fichtner talked about the availability. You know, the old coaching cliche, the most important ability is availability. And because some other guys have missed time at the wide receiver position, JuJu Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, to name a couple, There have been opportunities to get reps, and Chase Claypool taking advantage of that. Randy Fichtner talking about Claypool building a relationship with his new quarterback. That's a big deal.
All right, we have some action down on the field here from Heinz Field Live for Training Camp Live, presented by FedEx. Mike, again, the Steelers going through a mock road game.
Head coach Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It is oddly quiet, but this could potentially be what it is like several times this season. There you just see Vance McDonald walking by. Chris Wormley right there. It looks like those two guys are not dressed in full uniform. Terrell Edmonds, another player running by, who was a little limited yesterday, coming off an injury as well, so we'll have to see what he is able to do. So, again, this is a mock road game for the Steelers tonight. Coach Tomlin really trying to simulate things for him, and we have found out that Coach Tomlin would like to address Steelers Nation, would like to address the fans. So we are going to get a mic over to Coach Tomlin, and we will be bringing that to you live momentarily. Again, the Steelers are lining up on the visiting team's sideline tonight, pretending like this is not Heinz Field, like it is not a away game. So let's go down to the field to see what the team is doing, and also for Coach Tomlin to talk to Steelers Nation.
Good evening. This evening, as we go about our normal football business, we come before you standing united as an organization, as a football team, as football men. From different ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds, and even countries of origin. We stand united by our talents and our love for the game of football. That love and those talents have taught us great tolerance and understanding. We realize that those blessings put us in the minority. We've learned a lot of lessons in 2020, be it from the pandemic or the social unrest. The big perspective that has provided us is, regardless of how big and important this game is for us, it's small in the big scheme of things. But we also realize that we're privileged to have a platform. We're committed to taking action and being a part of the solution to face social injustice and prejudice that we all face, not only in our country but worldwide. It is our desire to be active participants in the formation of a more perfect union. That being said, we realize recent events are the continual reminder how far we are from that. We stand before you acknowledging that we are blessed and privileged, but that privilege does not shield us from sadness. That privilege does not shield us from shock or outrage. It does not shield us from fear. Fear for our safety or our loved ones or an uncertain future. Beyond being football men, first and foremost, we're husbands, fathers, brothers, sons, uncles, members of a community. And we wanted to pause and to share with those that are hurting tonight that we see you, that we hear you, but most importantly, we stand with you. Now we take a moment to come together in the middle of the field as a group of men and pray for betterment. Thank you.
A very powerful moment here at Heinz Field happening before the Steelers begin practice, a mock game. I am told after Coach Tomlin just spoke to Steelers Nation as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Mike, he was flanked by Art Rooney II, the Steelers president, also general manager Kevin Colbert, the team with arms, coaches, players linked behind him as he spoke out. As he said, looking for a more perfect union, using words like outrage, fear, wanting to pause for those who are having a rough time with the things that are happening in our country.
Yeah, and this prayer for betterment, the part of the Steelers' response, I love that the way you just quoted Mike Tomlin there, how he mentioned they want to be active participants in the formation of a more perfect union. Doesn't get a whole lot more compelling than that.
When he speaks, I think a lot of people listen. There you see Ben Roethlisberger linking with Art Rooney II. Kevin Colbert is behind him. Also, defensive captain Cam Hayward. Vance McDonald, who's not practicing tonight, is the one leading the team in the prayer. This was something that Coach Tomlin came to our production team about. This is something he wanted to be able to share with everybody who is watching tonight. Of course, it is a mock road game. There is business here, but this is something they wanted to make sure as many people as possible were able to see so the Steelers could make a statement of what they have been probably talking about behind closed doors in their meeting rooms. It is not something that I think you walk into this building and you just turn away from and you pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah, and what better way to send a message of unity than a football team sending it? Mike Tomlin citing at the outset of his remarks, Missi, that the Steelers are a team of different ethnicities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and even different countries of origin, and yet they are a team that thrives on togetherness, unity, and teamwork and love. And what better way to drive that message home?
Again, a very powerful message by Coach Tomlin. If you missed it, I'm sure we will be posting that a little bit later. But as you can see, the players, the coaches, everybody's still working from the visiting sideline here at Heinz Field. They are going to go through a 58 to 60-minute practice. There is going to be live tackling. As you can see, the offense once again is wearing white. The defense is wearing black tonight. So we are going to be able to give you a little bit of more of an inside look than normal. There's Coach Tomlin. As he always does, you have to give some love to the O-line, right?
Always does. And you see those guys in order. If they're on the bench, if they're on the field, wherever, they're always
always together,
lined up the way they line it up. And there you get a look at two of the outside linebackers, T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree. A lot of talk about those guys this training camp as well. Missi, Bud Dupree with a breakout year last year, and T.J. Watt, a guy who just continues to improve. We got some low-level ambient background crowd noise going for us now as the Steelers get ready to crank things up here.
A mock road game, and as you said, right now they are beginning 7 shots, Mike, and for those who do not know, this is something the Steelers normally like to start their practices with. Coach Tomlin gets into it, as you can see here. The offense and the defense both take this very seriously. So, Mike, for anybody who is not familiar, can you kind of explain what happens during 7 shots?
Yeah, it really became popular when the NFL went to the 2-point conversion. Now, Mike Tomlin initially said it was not just a 2-point conversion drill, so they call it a short yardage conversion drill. They put the ball at the 2-yard line, and the offense lines up and the defense lines up, and they see if they can get it across the goal line, and that signifies either a 2-point conversion, a short yardage moving of the chains, or a touchdown from a goal to go situation. And you mentioned it does get competitive. There's it's loud and it's hotly contested. It's really it's good situational work. You know how Mike Tomlin is big on situational football in practice and how important he thinks situational football is in games. But it also gets everybody stoked up pretty well as you see Ben Roethlisberger calling the shots here in 7 shots.
We got a chance to hear for the second time this training camp from Mike yesterday. There's TJ Watt. Didn't Ben just say he asked TJ for a little bump, a little hit yesterday? I think he said he asked him for that, but no one took him up on that. Not that TJ hit him that hard, but as you can see.
Oh, he touched him. I think he's watching the Zoom.
TJ said, well, Ben put it out to the media. Now I got to show them that I'm going to give him a little bump, right?
TJ Watt paying attention as they break the huddle. Steelers so happy to have Ben Roethlisberger back, and Roethlisberger talking this week about how maybe his arm's even a little stronger now that he's gotten that elbow surgically repaired. And everybody who's talked about Ben Roethlisberger has talked about the enthusiasm and the joy with which he is approaching this training camp.
He said 3 days of practice in a row, not something he has been able to do. I don't know if that was a good look from Ben of maybe what happened. It was kind of like that, maybe that didn't work out. But he did say the elbow is feeling good. I think he's still going to continue to get questions about it. So is every single player on the Steelers team. But you heard from Coach Tomlin, Randy Fichtner, Ben Roethlisberger. It sounds like things are good.
Yeah, and we got to look at James Conner a second ago. And Randy Fichtner saying that James Conner, when healthy, is as good a running back as the Steelers have ever had in the Randy Fichtner era. Can't get much higher praise than that.
Yeah, not a too bad thing to say, and we will get to that in just a little bit. We do have that sound for you. So, again, 7 shots, something that always kind of cranks up Steelers practice, the thing that they start with. And as I always say, Mike, it's always good when number 7's taking a lot.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger on the roll there, and look who ends up with the ball.
Mike Hilton, another one of our Zoom attendees today.
He's taking it all the way back. That's either a pick 6 or a conversion for the defense. Mike Hilton, as you mentioned, on the Zoom today, and boy, did he make some interesting points about the continuity, not just the returning players, but Steven Nelson in his second year with the Steelers. Minkah Fitzpatrick starting even in this truncated preseason instead of getting here in week 3. Mike Hilton thinks they have a chance to be a really good secondary, and based on that play, he might be right.
And Ben Roethlisberger, when simply asked yesterday, who's really winning in practice, offense or defense? He answered with one word. It was defense. And not something that you usually hear.
Not something I can remember ever hearing. That really surprised me because I think we talked about this yesterday, but it's kind of worth repeating that if you ask somebody in training camp who won a particular drill or who has been winning 11 on 11, if you ask a defensive guy, the defense has been winning. If you ask an offensive guy, the offense has been winning. They're shameless in their promotion of their side, but Ben Roethlisberger crediting that defense. And Missi, we've also heard a lot of people talking about Chase Claypool and Ben Roethlisberger and James Conner. So if the offense is as good individually as people are saying these guys are, and the defense is as good collectively as Ben Roethlisberger said these guys are, then it might bode very well.
And not only, Mike, are we hearing that ambient noise again, we heard it a little bit last week, but I don't know if you noticed when Mike Hilton was running it all the way back, there was some music. So that's something that's a little different from the last practice where they were playing with the ambient noise, giving the Steelers a feel for that. And as we mentioned, the Steelers scouting department is taking the role of the officials tonight. That's Brandon Hunt right there behind Ben Roethlisberger.
Incomplete there is that was Chase Claypool, the guy everybody's been talking about, and Steven Nelson on the coverage. You know, it's interesting. I've heard some comments around the league. Everybody's trying this crowd noise thing out, but they're not adjusting the volume. In other words, when the team breaks the huddle, it doesn't get louder. It doesn't have ebb and flow. And that would be particularly challenging if you're trying to replicate a Steeler game, because some of these road games, Missi, they're going to have to tell the crowd
like home games.
To quiet down. It sounds more like a home game as Mason Rudolph takes over for Ben Roethlisberger here in 7 shots.
which is something that we do typically see. Ben usually doesn't take all of them. So as we said, Mason, he even said when we had a chance to Zoom with him, not able to get those preseason games, which are huge for a guy like him, knowing that Ben Roethlisberger is back and feeling great and ready to go. So this is something Mason can try to take advantage of, or those days, which we've only seen one of them so far during training camp that we've been allowed to watch, where Ben Roethlisberger is not wearing a uniform.
There you go. Now look at Chase Claypool as Rudolph breaks the huddle, and we saw Jalen Samuels a moment ago. Another guy, Missy, that offensive backfield, the running backs, they don't have a lot of guys with extensive track records in terms of experience or statistical achievement, but they seem like they have a lot of options. They think they have one real go-to guy in James Conner. Benny Snell may be emerging as another one, and the other one's role players that bring different things to the table. There you see Rudolph missing Ray McLeod, receiver picked up during training camp, and boy, did he make an impression yesterday in the live kickoff return drill.
I know we were talking prior to the show just about yesterday's practice report, and there were some special teams things on there that definitely caught your eye, Mike.
Yeah, that was definitely one of them. Ray McLeod, they were tackling live in a kickoff drill, which I had never seen. I talked to some people who've been around here a long time. They had never seen it, but with no preseason games, you got to try to rep it as quick as you can, as we see Rudolph throwing one more pass here, and there is a touchdown to Deon Cain, who joined the Steelers mid-season last year. That'll wrap up 7 shots. But that live kickoff, kick return drill, they were supposed to tackle Ray McLeod, but Ray McLeod decided he did not want to be tackled. And so happy they put that on the practice report, and we can tell you about it, because that's a big deal. Deontay Johnson, led the NFL in punt returns last year. He had that punt return for a touchdown in Arizona. Kickoff return, maybe an area where the Steelers can get a little more than they've been getting. And if you're Ray McLeod, that is one way to make an impression quickly in your new organization.
All right, the Steelers are now moving into their team run competition period. Ben Roethlisberger back out there, as you can see, to start this drill. We will be able to show you a little bit more of this as well. And the rain is starting to come down here at Heinz Field, Mike. I started to hear it. I did a brief turnaround, and it's really starting to come down, but as long as there is not lightning and thunder, I am sure Coach Tomlin will keep this practice rolling and moving, because if there is anything he likes, it is to put his team through discomfort in practice in any form or fashion. And several guys have mentioned this week, Mike, that is actually helping them due to the limited amount of time and no preseason games this preseason. As
they say, you got to play in the rain, so you might as well practice in it, although Mike Tomlin doesn't want to practice against lightning. He said they're not going to fight Mother Nature in that manner. As you see James Conner get another carry. How cool is this? We're watching plays and talking about them, and everybody that's tuned in is getting a chance to look at these guys. There you see Cam Hayward. This is practice. If you ever wondered what's it look like, what's it feel like, sort of what it sounds like. The sound is a little trumped up, but St. Vincent or here, this is a Steelers practice, a live tackling team run period.
The thing I like about it too, Mike, though, no preseason games. This is about as close as we are going to get to it. Again, tonight, if you're just joining us, Coach Tomlin putting the Steelers through a mock road game. The offense wearing white, the defense wearing black. They came out of the visitors' tunnel at Heinz Field. They'll probably never need to know where that entrance is again. They are standing on the visiting line, and they are live tackling. It is supposed to be about 60 minutes. The rain is coming down strong, but that has been the weather in Pittsburgh, it feels like, this week.
Yeah, today in particular, raining most of the morning and the afternoon. We got a little bit of a break, but you can see it's starting to bead on the helmets. And I don't know about you, Missy. I know a lot of football fans that much prefer a little rain, a little snow, a little mud, a little
makes
cold.
It feel real.
James Conner brought down there in the open field by Steven Nelson, a guy who you saw make a play in 7 shots on Chase Claypool, and a guy who admittedly, Missy, thinks he's a little underrated. Doesn't think he's quite gotten the rep he deserves throughout the NFL. And Mike Tomlin was asked about that, and he said, if a player finds an edge and it helps him, whatever it is, more power to him. But again, Nelson here for a second year, not joining a new team, not trying to fit in, not trying to figure things out. Continuity. Mike Hilton talked about that a lot today. TJ Watt has talked about it on Zoom. In addition to having a lot of really good players, that defense has a lot of continuity going for it.
No doubt, and in case if you did miss the news yesterday, the Steelers have announced that their first 2 home games will unfortunately be without fans. So we do want to go to the statement by team president Art Rooney II. He said, quote, "As we have prepared for the 2020 season, we have continuously followed the guidelines of public health officials to ensure the safety of our fans, as well as our players, coaches, and staff. And we understand and appreciate the dedication of our fans who want to attend games this season. That is why it's disappointing to announce that we will not be able to host games for our first 2 home games in September." And there's the rest of his statement as it continues there. "Our plan for games without fans has been approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and we appreciate and respect the guidelines of our public health officials concerning the ongoing public health emergency. We will continue to work on plans to host games at Heinz Field when it is deemed safe to proceed. We will communicate our ticket holders concerning updates on those plans." And that means the home opener against the Denver Broncos and also week 3 when the Houston Texans visit, which means, unfortunately for the Watt family, Mom and Dad won't be in here.
Well, they're not supposed to be. I read a story today that quoted Mama Watt as saying they're going to find a way to sneak in because that potentially will be the first time that the 3 brothers are all on the same field. What a moment.
For sure, especially for those parents. I had a chance to catch up with her this offseason for a Mother's Day feature, and I said, "Could you write a book for me? I have 2 boys for myself, just to raise nice guys, not even just good football players." So we did have a chance when Ben Roethlisberger spoke yesterday. He talked about how this season's going to be different, and he was really looking forward to that team introduction or the individual introduction when he could run out at Heinz Field with Steelers Nation here.
Yeah, the towels waving.
It's going to be different. I know we had our kind of practice the other night with the kind of fake crowd noise, whatever you want to call it. And, I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't excited to run out of the tunnel after last year at Heinz Field. I mean, there's nothing better. And I'll never be able to put it into words or describe to someone that hasn't been able to do it, what it's like to run out of that stadium here at home with the fans screaming and going nuts and the terrible towels waving. And so I was looking forward to that. Obviously, that's going to be different now. But and playing as long as I have, I mean, it's going to be a unique situation, whether there's a few fans or no fans. I mean, I'm not really even sure what's going to happen yet. So all that being said, after missing last year, I'm just going to be happy to be on the field playing a game.
That was part of Ben Roethlisberger's Zoom interview yesterday, so he did not know the Steelers' decision just yet. There is Benny Snell, who, by the way, Mike, lost 12 pounds, he said, this offseason. One of those guys that took very seriously how Coach Tomlin and their training staff put together a plan for those guys to come back in even better shape. And he said, the Steelers gave me a plan. I followed it, plain and simple, and here I am.
Yeah, and Benny Snell, a guy that at the end of last year they were quite pleased with. Based on what he did as a rookie, a little leaner now. He likes to bounce the ball outside. Look at the defense is signaling for crowd noise. And it does sound like it's maybe a little nuanced. I think somebody might have their hand on the volume control after all. Mason Rudolph wants a restart of the 30-second clock. But Benny Snell is a really interesting guy, a guy who did it the way the Steelers demand most players do it. And that is, if you're not the number 1 pick or a high-profile guy, prove yourself in the kicking game, play well on special teams, earn a couple looks on offense, and see what you can do with that. See if you can build on that. Is Mason Rudolph a little bootleg?
Zach Gentry, another second-year guy.
And another guy who seems to be better for having experienced a year in the NFL. And Mike Tomlin has always said, Missy, that jump in a career should be the greatest from year 1 to year 2. And even if you went to a big school such as Gentry went to Michigan, Benny Snell went to Kentucky, that's big-time college football, but it is still a different world than what these guys are exposed to here. And there's a lot to take in, and the ones that can survive it have a chance, if they learn from it, to really take off in that second year. To see Benny Snell, there he goes outside, and there's a little of that quickness on display. Takes a hit, keeps going. Benny Snell wasn't getting outside last year too much, was he, Miss? He kept trying it. Most of his success was between the tackles. But when he can, if he's got that slimmer, quicker physical skill set going for him, it might really enhance his game.
No doubt, and Zach Gentry, as you saw in there, also Kevin Rader. As we said, Eric Ebron missed practice yesterday due to a sickness. We have seen Vance McDonald miss a few times here and there. He's not practicing tonight, even though he did lead the team in their prayer tonight after Coach Tomlin spoke prior to the practice starting. So for those guys, keep hitting the sleds. That's something that we talked about. Coach Tomlin watches all the time during individuals.
Another run play there, and there you see Ulysses Gilbert III, a guy who was hurt most of last year. Appeared in, I believe it was 7 games on special teams, 0 defensive snaps. But a guy that Kevin Colbert started talking about in the offseason, you kept hearing his name. And he has shown up on the practice report a couple of times for his ability to run with the running backs in the one-on-one passing drills. Not backs on backers pass protection, but he's going down the field with some pretty quick guys and looking like he belongs. And speaking of quick guys, there's Kareth White, who came to the Steelers last year midseason, as did Deion Kane, another one of those explosive speed backs.
Yeah, and whenever Kareth White, we should mention, missed practice yesterday, so back out here tonight. That was a guy we were trying to find, and we were not able to, just to go through. Ryan Switzer not practicing tonight, Vance McDonald, Chris Wormley, and also Cam Canada. So good to see that Kareth White is back out there. He was part of that group as well.
And there you got a quick look at Dan McCullers.
Big Dan.
On the defensive line. Missy, I keep hearing about Dan McCullers. He's dropped weight.
And he made the practice report yesterday.
He's quicker. He's getting penetration. And you talked about that before camp started. You came on the DVE morning show, and you said, I hear Big Dan is slimmed down and maybe a different Big Dan.
Well, it's sad to admit, but before we were allowed to come here to Heinz Field to watch the practices, every time we were able to upload one of Carl Roser's photo galleries on Steelers.com, I would sit there and click through every single one, and it was pretty evident that Big Dan had lost some weight. So they are now going to a different period that we are not going to be able to take you down on the field to show you. But, Mike, as
this is
I
the
promised,
singing in the rain period they're going to.
And it is raining. I keep inching closer and closer to our desk here. A lot of talk about Chase Claypool from so many people in the organization. Before I get to his interview, let's listen to Ben Roethlisberger on the rookie wide receiver.
Well, I always get caught trying to spread too much praise to rookies because I want them to sneak up on other people, but it doesn't look like Chase is going to be able to sneak up on anybody right now because people are talking about him, and deservedly so. He's just making plays. I think the plays that he's making are impressive, but I think to me, the more impressive is that he doesn't ask a lot of questions, which means he knows his stuff. I can change a play with a hand signal or call a different play at the line of scrimmage, and I always check him, like, are you good? And he's like, I got it. And so I think that is just very, very impressive from a quarterback perspective, that as much as we've thrown at him, he's able to digest it. And not saying he doesn't make a mistake, but when he makes a mistake, he's not making the same mistake twice. And so I just think that's really impressive.
All right, so Ben Roethlisberger said he's not sneaking up on anybody in terms of offense. Mike, we heard Danny Smith say the same thing about special teams. So I had to get to the root of it. I was lucky enough from my kitchen where it was not raining at the time. I looked a lot better this early this morning, but I did have a chance to catch up with Chase Claypool to go one-on-one. Chase, a lot of nice things are being said about you from head coach Mike Tomlin, Randy Fichtner, Ben Roethlisberger, even the likes of veteran Joe Hayden. So how much of this are you hearing in terms of what they're telling the media, and how much are they telling you in person?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of things through Twitter, but they don't want to tell me too much in person because they don't want me to kind of get ahead of myself. So I just got to stay focused and finish strong.
I think the best thing that Randy Fichtner said about you is that you work, and then you shut up. Has that always been your mindset in terms of what you've been able to do and accomplish in football?
Yeah, I think I've kind of developed that over the last few years. I think college was really big for me in kind of narrowing my focus down and just working, and then learning when to ask questions, when not to ask questions, and be prepared and all that stuff. So I feel like I've definitely peaked at the right time.
Obviously, the relationship between a wide receiver and the quarterback is very important. So how would you describe your relationship as we sit here today with Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah, it's not – obviously I just came in and he's been here for a long time. So it's not like we're super close or anything, but he definitely is very helpful on the field with what he wants. And I'm not trying to push the agenda on anything of me and him because I know how long he's been here, and I know like rookies like me, they come and go. So I'm just gonna try to stay humble about that and just let him teach me when he wants to teach me, and then stay out of his way when that's necessary.
Obviously, there are no preseason games, but he said in practice he can change the play on you, and you normally get it right. Of course, there's going to be mistakes, as you said. You're just trying to learn this offense. So how are you working to be able to do that, for him to say that about you?
Yeah, like there's a couple times where he has signaled me something and I was able to get it right. And then sometimes in the walkthrough, he tests me, and I'm about like 50-50 now. And I don't expect to get it all right. And I'm excited, or I'm happy to know that if I do mess up, it won't happen again. So I don't beat myself up over it. If I mess up, it's just a learning experience. So I don't get too down on myself for that. And I think he understands that, I'll mess it up once as long as I don't mess it up twice.
Coach Tomlin preached for everybody, not just rookies, to come to camp in good physical condition. Do you feel like you did that, and is there anything you've changed since you've been with the team?
Most definitely, yeah. I trained every day back home, back in California. So I think I was, put myself in a good position to do that, especially how much they kind of harped on that. So definitely in a good spot.
All right, we talked about offense. Also special teams, Danny Smith, the special teams coordinator, also said you're not going to sneak up on anybody, unfortunately. You told me when you were drafted by the Steelers, you volunteered to play special teams at Notre Dame. So how is the special teams portion of your rookie year here at training camp going so far?
It's going really good. We have a couple live periods today on special teams, so I'm excited about that. See kind of what we can do on that end of the unit, and try to put everything together that Coach Smith has been teaching us. And I'm excited to kind of display that too.
Your position coach, Ike Hilliard, is somebody who's new to a lot of us, his first year with the team as well. Is there anything that he's taught you, or a drill that he does with your group, or something he says in a meeting room that's really stuck out to you?
I think just the little things, the little nuances of the game that he teaches us. Obviously, he had a long career in the NFL, and he's able to teach us different ways to go about routes and stuff. So I think that's very helpful.
And is there anybody, it doesn't have to be on offense, maybe it's just a veteran or somebody you're leaning on to help you get through this camp, whether it's just complaining about something or asking a question about what time to be somewhere?
All the receivers are very helpful. JuJu, Switzer, J-Dub, James Washington, and Deontay. So, I ask them a lot of questions, and they're always helpful.
Your fellow rookie classmate, Alex Highsmith, has also received some positive remarks. What are you seeing from him, if you are at all able to pay attention to anybody else?
I've just heard talks about from offensive people talking about him, and I've heard good things. So I haven't really been able to see too much what he's doing, just because he's kind of inside the box. But I've heard good things.
Coach Tomlin talked on Thursday about how there was never consideration of canceling practice due to social justice. I know a lot of conversations have taken place. We've heard from other players as well. And obviously you tweeted a screenshot from your dad. Just curious what the reaction has been to that tweet, and maybe bigger conversations that you've been able to have with teammates.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people obviously kind of felt that tweet. I haven't read the comments at all, but I just see some like the retweets and like how much energy it's picked up, how much momentum it's picked up, and I think it just shows how many people are affected by that. But yeah, it's a different world we live in now.
Coach Tomlin made it very clear, this was back in the offseason, even this week at training camp, that he wants the team to be about taking actions, not just making statements. So how do you feel you guys as a team are doing that? He mentioned voter registration, social justice, different groups and meetings. So how are you able to fit into any of those that work for you personally?
Yeah, we just had a voter seminar, voter education thing. I didn't go because I'm Canadian, so I can't vote. But a lot of people went and kind of stay tuned to that, and I think that helped a lot.
All right, thanks, Chase.
All right, thank you.
All right, it's time now to welcome in our good friend Hunch Ilkin. Hunch, so much to talk about tonight. We did ask the fans, if you are watching and you did not submit your question yet, you can use hashtag SteelersCamp. We're going to get some questions to Hunch, but I don't know if you want to start with Chase Claypool or the moment before practice, whatever works for you tonight, Hunch.
Chase Claypool is such a humble guy. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's smart. He's got a good grasp of the offense. He's got a really great rapport with Ben Roethlisberger. And, for a linear guy that's 4.340, guys, he comes in and out of his cuts really well. He shuffles his feet, and he's just great. And he's got a great catch radius. And, I think this young man is going to have a big year.
Tunch, usually when I hear about what rookies are doing well, I hear, they're asking a lot of questions. They know what they don't know, and they're learning. We just heard Ben Roethlisberger a little while ago say, this kid doesn't ask questions. And Roethlisberger asked, are you sure you got this? Yeah, I got it. I mean, how special is that the guy can come in and seemingly absorb everything at the required pace?
Well, he is bright. And so when they put the offense in, he is learning, and one of the things that is really impressive about him, that he's not asking questions because he's learning on the spot. And, one of the things that Ben keeps going, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? And he said, no, I'm okay. And I think Ben loves that about Chase.
All right, Hunch, the Steelers are going into red zone, so we are going to be able to show a little bit down on the field. I know you are mad because your back is towards the field and you do not have a monitor. But what do you make of tonight's practice? A mock road game. They are literally standing on the visiting team's sideline, and Coach Tomlin is doing his best to simulate whatever he can with no preseason games.
Missy, I love Coach Mike. He puts them in situations where they have to overcome something. And so when they're doing a visiting team on their home team, it's great. They're focused, they're determined, and they're gonna be good. And so when they go into New York and this practice won 7 shots and live tackling, it's gonna be almost like a preseason game.
All right, Hunch, I can tell you that Mason Rudolph connected with JuJu Smith-Schuster there. JuJu's doing a little bit of a celebration there. What are you seeing from number 19 this camp?
Oh, yeah, I think JuJu's going to have a big year. JuJu's hungry. I've seen it. He runs great routes. He's got great hands. And, one of the things that I've noticed about him is he runs hard. And he catches the ball, he's going to run into the end zone, and that's what I'm encouraged by that, because he runs great routes, and he's going to catch the ball, and he's going to score touchdowns.
Tunch, we just saw Devin Bush knock down James Conner, and a week or so ago, those guys were going at it in a one-on-one drill, toss to the running back, and the linebacker had to come up and make the tackle. And I asked Mike Tomlin about that. He said, hey, we have to tackle when we have to tackle. We're not going to apologize for it. Is enough tackling getting done? Mike Hilton addressed that today. Stefan Wisniewski addressed it today. Is there enough contact given the circumstance?
Well, I think so, Mike. And one thing about Mike Tomlin, he's going to put him in situations that they have to tackle. And one of the things that Devin Bush is good at, early in the season he had paralysis by analysis, but as the season went on, he started reacting faster. He reacted going out to the sidelines and sideline to sideline, and also he started attacking the line of scrimmage. So Devin Bush, I think this year is going to have a good year.
All right, Hunch, let's get to one fan question, if we can do that in a double box so you can still see the field. I'll read it quickly. Between O-line and D-line, which do we think we have more depth going into the season? This question is from Ted.
So I think the O-line's got a lot of depth. Zach Banner, Chooks, Matt Filer, Stefan Wisniewski, Pounce and David DeCastro, and Derwin Gray. I'm a big fan of Derwin Gray. He's very athletic. He uses his hands well. And I think that the offensive line has a lot of depth.
We're seeing a live look right now at Cam Sutton. He is maybe the forgotten member of that draft class of 2016 when you have TJ Watt and JuJu Smith-Schuster and James Conner. What have you seen from him? Tom Bradley referred to him as putty the other day.
Yeah, you can put him anywhere. I'm impressed with Cam Sutton. He can play outside. He can play the slot. He can play safety, and he's been playing free safety, and he has a great knowledge of the game. And Missi, one thing, when you play a lot of positions, you develop more sight for the offense, and you develop more of a comfort in the defense. When I was a rookie, I played tackle, guard, and center because I was drafted as center. And when I came here, I saw Mike Webster, and I said, I'm never going to play center. And so I started playing guard and tackle. But one of the things that it was good for me was I learned the offense. I learned everything that everybody was doing, even the running backs, the tight end, and the offensive line.
All right, let's get to one more fan question for Tunch tonight. Again, if you'd like to participate throughout any of our training camp shows, use hashtag SteelersCamp. Heather wants to know, who is a dark horse on offense and defense that people aren't talking too much about that fans should be aware of?
I am a big fan of Deion Kane. Deion Kane came with Kareth White from the Bears last year from the Bears practice squad. And, he runs great routes. He's got good hands. And I think he's going to make an impact, maybe on special teams, but I think he's going to be an impact player.
What about on the other side of the ball?
I think that Daniel McCullers, you guys talked about Daniel McCullers. One of the things I saw in him as we were watching the 11-on-11 is once he lost weight, he's really quick off the ball. And one of the things he does is he shoots his hands well. And he shoots his hands into the center's chest, and then he controls the center, and he plays off the center.
We are just seeing Devlin Hodges is in right now as well. What do you make of the quarterbacks, Tunch?
Wait, before we go there, can I give you my sleepers?
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Hold on, Tunch. Let's let Mike go real
quick. Let me chime in on that. I'm not sure if this guy qualifies because we talked about him already today, but offensively, Ray McLeod.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to go, we saw him just for a second on screen, number 99 in black, Henry Mondo, defensive line.
Yeah. J.J. McLeod, when he ran that kickoff return, I was just coming down from you guys, and I didn't see it.
See, Tunch is already mad at us that we don't have a monitor following him around, and we're not allowing him to watch everything, right, Tunch?
Yeah. No, I'm not mad, but I just would like to see everything.
If we have one more fan question, we'll go to that for you, Tunch. All right, I'm just kidding. We do not have another one ready to go, so I apologize. You were mentioning some sleepers. I did want to ask, have you and Wolf picked your camp phenoms, or does that not go this year since we're not in Latrobe?
Missi, one of the things, the picking of camp phenom without being on the field is very, very difficult. Because when you're on the field, you see the camp phenom, you see his technique, you see his speed, you see his explosiveness, but you don't see it when you're in the stands. So, one of the things that, I still have not picked my camp phenom, and Wolf has not picked it either.
Better pick him soon. It's almost over.
Yeah. Well, it's...
Can't wait till the roster comes out and then pick your camp phenom.
Yeah.
All right, Hunch, we will let you get back to practice, let you go watch what is left here. The good news is that the rain has stopped. Not that I can personally tell you because I haven't been standing out in it, but the crowd noise has been loud, Mike. We've heard the music. There's Stephon Tuitt, somebody else coming back from injury. We all talk about Ben Roethlisberger so much, but Tuitt is another one of those guys that everybody on defense just wonders. 6 games was what he played before he got hurt against the Chargers, had 3.5 sacks. So you just think to yourself, all right, they had the sack lead. How many more could they have had, and what would have happened to the defense that did big things in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, Stephon Tuitt, Missy, certainly looked like he was on track toward all-pro status early last year, and they lost a really good football player in Javon Hargrave, but they're getting a really good football player back in Stephon Tuitt, and if they can keep him healthy, I think this defense, believe it or not, has a chance to get more sacks and more interceptions because I think the offense will be better, and I think the defense will be playing with a lead more often and will be able to tee off on quarterbacks more often, and that might lead to even more damage as we see JuJu get knocked around a little bit there. You know, as Hunch was talking about how hard JuJu Smith-Schuster is working, he caught a pass toward the sideline and the play ended, but he finished it anyway. He ran down the sideline, and guys get a little extra conditioning in that way, finish the play. You're not going to play the next rep anyway, so run it to the goal line. But JuJu not only ran it to the goal line, he celebrated with the crowd, and then he did a little dance, and he's having a good time out there.
Well, we are the crowd, right?
Well, he was, looking up at the empty seats and imagining, but nothing wrong with that either.
All right, Mason Rudolph in at quarterback, but since we were talking about defense a little bit, we did have a chance to Zoom today with Mike Hilton, and he talked about all things defense and big things that they are expecting for themselves as a unit in 2020.
It's definitely an adjustment. We're used to being around, getting some type of physical contact, and like OTAs might not be taken to the ground type of things, but it's technical things, working on getting your hands in the right place to tackle, and then coming into camp, just knowing how the timing is different. Coach T has found ways for us to be physically active, be able to work on our tackling, especially as a defense as a whole. He's found ways to put us in one-on-one situations. Of course, we got team situations where we're being able to take ball carriers to the ground. So I feel like it's a steady hand right now, and I feel like, over time we've been improving.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We'll move on to Dale Lally. Dale, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, just being the senior member of the Steelers secondary, probably doesn't feel that way for you, but you are. How excited are you to see this group together again this year? I know last year was kind of it worked in on the fly. Now you've had Minka here for the entire off season and training camp and everybody's here and you've been able to work as a group.
It's been pretty well. This is a great group of guys. Even some of the young guys coming in have been active. Asking questions, trying to show that they're trying to learn the system and become part of this team. And just compared to where we were last year, now that Minka's been a whole year in the system. Steve was for the same. Everybody knows what Cam Sutton does for us all around the field. Terrell's taking jumps. So we got a lot of guys that really understand their role, that really understand their roles and elevate their game to help us become one of the better secondaries.
All right, that was Mike Hilton earlier today on Zoom. Mike Prisuta, I don't want to confuse the mics here. Sticking with the Steelers defense, Marcus Allen is somebody that Coach Tomlin mentioned yesterday after practice. There is not a lot of depth at inside linebacker. I know you mentioned Gilbert, but in terms of Marcus Allen, Coach Tomlin did say he has been position flexible, which is something that he likes a lot about some of those young guys, and maybe that's something we could see from him this season in terms of just working with the safeties and with the inside linebackers.
Yeah, it's been slow going for Marcus Allen at safety since they drafted him, but there may be a path to the field between special teams and being that hybrid guy, or maybe even more of an inside linebacker. It's interesting that Mike Tomlin would mention that, kind of intriguing to see what Allen can do in that position. But Missy, I don't know how much people caught at home when we went to that Mike Hilton interview. They were cranking out Dio here.
You were cranking out,
too. At Heinz Field. I got to point out, we have gone tonight from Mike Tomlin quoting the U.S. Constitution to Dio, "You've got desire, so let it out. You got the power, stand up and shout." We are covering a lot of ground here tonight.
I will say I feel the energy, and we are not even on the field. We are way above the field, but with the crowd noise, the music, I think them trying to make it as much of a game or a scrimmage as possible, and with the live tackling, and they are in uniforms, this is making me realize how much I have missed football and how excited I am that real football is on its way.
Yeah, all we need is a couple TV timeouts, right? And it's going to have the real thing. But this has been fun so far. So we get another look at Duck Hodges surveying the field, and looks like I thought he was throwing that one away, and turns out he finds Saeed Blacknall.
Just re-signed today.
Who was re-signed, and I'm glad they showed him because, he was wearing number 80 and he got released, and now they brought him back, and number 80 was waiting for him. So maybe that's an encouraging sign for him. They didn't give his number away.
And, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, Mike, but Kevin Colbert, when he spoke to the media, was asked about what to do in terms of building a practice squad this year, building a roster, because this is going to be like anything he has had to put together due to the pandemic. And having veterans and different guys who are familiar with the system, even though they're young guys, that is going to hopefully help and maybe give the Steelers some assurance that you don't have to bring a guy off his couch or a guy from another team that you have to wait to be able to actually bring into your building.
Yeah, and especially early, you don't want to do that because nobody's got any film on anybody's guys. I mean, Missy, there's 80 players here at Heinz Field, and 53 of them are going to make the active roster, and 16 of them are going to make the expanded practice squad. I don't think they're going to be going searching other teams' cut lists to try to find practice squad guys and vice versa. I don't think anybody that they have is going to end up in Cincinnati or Seattle because nobody can see these guys. So there's real opportunity here, and on game day, the roster goes from 53 to 55. One of those guys has to be an offensive lineman. Guys can move up and down from that practice squad much more easily in terms of the clerical hoops you got to jump through to get there. So there a lot of guys in this camp may well be heard from this year at some point.
No doubt. In case if you have missed it, just going through our list of people not practicing tonight, Ryan Switzer is not in uniform, Vance McDonald, newcomer Chris Wormley, and also Cam Canada, who's been dealing with an injury, why they brought another long snapper in. And as you have said, Mike, Coach said the other night he was not comfortable with the depth there. They've used Vance McDonald before. They've tried Marquise Pouncey, and they weren't too excited about some of the options.
Yeah, and one other guy I've noticed on these sideline shots, Missy, that Deontay Johnson doesn't have his shoulder pads on anymore. He was out for the early portion of practice. He's had an injury he's been nursing in training camp. But, again, more opportunity at that wide receiver position. I'm kind of bummed. We've seen Claypool, a couple of balls to Claypool, and he didn't come down with either one of them. We've been talking about Chase Claypool every day. And I'm still going to talk about him. I just wanted anybody tuning in from wherever to get a look at this kid. They have at least seen him carry his pads and wear the helmet and the ease with which he moves.
All right, another newcomer to the Steelers, a free agent signing this offseason with Stefan Wisniewski, a Pittsburgh guy, and we had a chance to hear from him today about what he thought potentially his role was going to be if there was maybe OTAs and minicamp, which we know was not the fact, so let's take a listen.
I wasn't sure, coming here. I've learned in my years in the NFL, be ready for anything. And it does look like at this point I'll probably be the backup swing guy at guard, both guards and center. And, Foley's been playing a lot of left guard. And, I'll embrace that role. I do believe I'm capable of being a starter in this league. And I think I've proved that. I started at left guard on 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowl champions. So obviously I'm capable of doing that, but I have been a backup as well. And I'm the kind of guy, I'm going to come to work every day with a great attitude, no matter what my role is. If I'm a backup, I'm going to be working every day, so I'm ready to go, if and when someone gets hurt and I'm in there. And I'll do the best I can to teach young guys, help game plan, scheme things up. I've been in a lot of good offenses. I know how protections work. I know how run game schemes work. And I'll try to help with schemes, help coach, and be ready to go whenever I'm called on.
And Mike, we have seen Stefan Wisniewski move around a little bit during camp due to Marquise Pouncey's absence, just Dave DeCastro not being able to practice in the early portion. So he is getting some good work in terms of working with your new quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger.
That he is, and he also talked on that Zoom today, but just about how jazzed he is to be back home. You know, he's a Pittsburgh Central Catholic High School graduate, played at Penn State, which is not far from here, and he talked on that Zoom call about coming through the Fort Pitt Tunnel to commute to work every day. That's what he did when he was in high school, and that's what he's getting to do now. If you're watching this program on whatever means, you've probably been to Pittsburgh, are from Pittsburgh, or at least familiar with the Fort Pitt Tunnel. If you're not and you're thinking about coming here, you got to get on the Parkway West, drive down Green Tree Hill, go through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, and then you get to the other end, and bam, there is the city of Pittsburgh. It's the calling card, the postcard picture of this town.
No doubt.
It never ceases to look fantastic, even when it's snowing.
All right, well, it appears the Steelers are cutting practice short here. We dealt with a lot of rain, a lot of inclement weather throughout the day, but they were able to get in as much as possible. Again, live tackling a road mock game as best they can do to try to simulate and get everybody ready to go for that opener against the New York Football Giants. You like that, Prisuta, on week 1. But in case if you missed before practice, we do want to show a photo of Coach Tomlin who addressed Steelers Nation prior to the start. Art Rooney II was there, Kevin Colbert, every player and coach behind them, linking arms. And one of the things that Coach said, quote, "We wanted to pause and share with those that are hurting tonight that we see you, that we hear you, but most importantly, we stand with you." So with that, we will say goodbye from Heinz Field. Thank you so much for joining us for Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. We hope everyone had as much fun as we did. That is the latest from here at Heinz Field. We will see everybody next time.